Well, as part of efforts to reduce the high number of out-of-school children in Nigeria, a non-profit organization, the Child Foundation, has trained over 300 internally displaced and vulnerable children right here in Nigeria's capital of Abuja. President and founder of the foundation says out of 300 children trained in the last 4 years, 20 of them are now on scholarship in various secondary schools being sponsored by the NGO. She's now calling on the federal government to be serious on the disturbing high number of out-of-school children in the country.
We've been on this. We have three main projects through which we achieve our objectives. We have summer school for internally displaced children, which is what we just concluded. We have literacy clinic, and we have Camp to Class scholarship fund. Summer school started in 2017 as a project. The name of the project was Arm the Child Project. We worked with 54 internally displaced boys at an IDP school somewhere in Gwarimpa. After the summer school, they were dispersed from the school. We couldn't track their whereabouts because they didn't have phones. Their parents were not there. They were just situated in the school by themselves.
They have impacted my life for the summer lesson. I learned about the math and how to do fraction and some base 10 and base 2. And in the computer, I learned about how to make a folder.
I really want government to change this place for us, to give us good place to live and to be sure that our education is going well, and want the government to give us food, find a better place for us to live.
Out-of-school children, yeah, good job they're doing there. Well, we're going to have more on this, and to discuss this and more, we have been joined by
Damak.
Shuwargwe Damak. Yes, thanks so very much for joining us in the studios. If you do me a favor, do not swing your chair. You're going to distract the viewers, all right?
Okay.
So stay so that they can see you. Tell us, done over 300 students, scholarship, 20, and the rest. What kind of efforts are you getting from government?
Thank you for having me this evening. Since inception, we have been solely self-funded, and all the support we've gotten so far has been from family and friends. There's been minimal to no support from the government.
But have you made any effort really, especially as it concerns the basic needs of these people? We've seen that education is your key focus of your foundation, really. Have you tried to get not just the Minister of Education, or maybe even the Senate Committee on Education involved in what you are doing?
To be honest, we haven't written to the Senate Committee or the well, we have written to the Ministry of Education, but we've also written to other government parastatals to request for sponsorship or support in some way, and we didn't receive any form of positive feedback.
So what kind of frustrations are you really having in this drive to get the Nigerian child out of the street and to make sure at least they have the basic education?
Now, like most non-profits, our predominant challenge is funding. Out of, like we mentioned earlier on, we are working with over 300 children, and out of these 300, it's only 20 we've been able to sponsor to school so far. Out of all those 300 you're sponsoring, a number of them want, in fact, all of them want access to education, but we can't afford it, so we are working with what we have.
But the public schools are free?
We pay.
In the public schools?
Yes. At the time we sponsored 20 of them in September last year, it cost us over 400,000
wow.
to enroll them
for
entry level.
Primary or secondary?
Secondary school. It cost us over 400,000.
This is something that we have to investigate,
well,
really, because
tell
at the
us
end of
that
the day,
education is
it's
free,
at
but
least
at the primary and high school level.
Until at least you get to JS3, just what it's seen as a basic education now in Nigeria. So it's not free.
We paid for them to, at least for entry level. JS2 now, they're telling us for the full session, it's going to cost us 7,500 per child.
Wow.
Well, we just hope that the Minister of Education is listening, another relevant agency on this issue.
This is a critical issue because experts would argue and say for Nigeria to actually get it right, you start educating the children today to avoid, a catastrophic future.
Yes,
the IDPs, we've seen all sorts of budgetary allocation from not just the National Assembly, we've seen even certain groups come together and raise a lot of money for them to actually address their plights. You who's on the field, all of these monies that we keep banditing and hearing about on the news, do they get to the people who really need it?
Now, I'm not going to say it doesn't get to the people because there are a number of IDPs in Nigeria. There are a large number of IDPs in Nigeria. You go to Borno, you find a large number of internally displaced people. You go to Adamawa, you find them there. So I'm not going to say it doesn't get to them, but within the sphere of my operations, there's no support from the government.
According to UNICEF, over 10 million Nigerian children are out of school. Yes, your foundation, like I understand, is actually based here in Abuja, so you're focused on the IDP children here in the nation's capital. So what sort of support and who are you looking to support you in this drive for this very important need to educate an internally displaced child?
We need the support of the government. We need the support of international organizations like UNICEF, UNESCO. Now, even when you look at the current state of our educational sector, it needs a total overhaul. We need the government to be able to achieve this. During our summer school this year, we taught them digital literacy, we taught them financial literacy. Now, why do we pick digital literacy? During lockdown, our kids were left with no access to education for over 6 months, close to 9 months, while their counterparts who had access, or let me not say their counterparts, their peers who had access to education, despite not being in school physically, were able to forge ahead with their education because they had access to digital technology. Now, children in government schools or public schools don't have that access. If today there's another lockdown, children in public schools are still going to suffer, some time lapse because there's no access to digital technology. We need a total overhaul of the system. With what they're offering the children today, are they ready to catch up with where the world is moving to right now? So we need support in terms of funding. We need support in terms of putting up a proper structure to monitor the movement of these people. Today, I'll give you an example. Out of the 20 children we sponsored we sponsored 16 last year. We added 4 more this year. Out of 16 we sponsored last year, we can't account for 2 of them now. They said their families just moved out of the IDP camp.
No.
So you see, there's also that lack of structure. How do you keep up with these people? Yes, data. How do you keep up with these people? And if they say at some point they're going to return them back to where they came from, how do we know they are? Yeah, how do you ensure that? They are so dependent on people. They are dependent on people to eat. They are dependent on people for everything. So beyond even wanting to go to school, their welfare condition is so poor. So you're trying to sponsor a child to school, and as you go, they don't have money to go to school to find their way to school. They don't have shoes to wear to school. They don't have food to eat.
So much.
How do you educate a child that is hungry?
Absolutely.
There's so
even
much
if you try to educate them, it won't even go in, really. We'll have to say thank you so much to you, Shuwargwe Damak, of course, the founder and president of the Child Foundation. Thank you so much for all that you do and for being here. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.